Hello, guys and gals, and welcome. Welcome. So we are going to be going over this Q&A. It's in a weird place, by the way. It's over on Twitter. I'm not really sure about the whole Twitter live streaming dojank thing. We got about like 15, 16 minutes before the start of this. So I'm probably going to play a little bit of Debolo in the background here while we're waiting. And but let's see here. Do 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 do. Go play a little Debolo. I'll play a little Debolo while we're waiting. And I'm going to share this as well. Just putting out a couple links here. Obviously, the show has not started yet. If you guys are just joining in, you haven't missed anything. You guys are fine. Nothing's been missed. You're good. You're good. You're here. You're here on time. You're on time. You hear my girlfriend in the background. It's like, do a pepes. Come on, do the pepes. Gotta do the pepes, do us. Cody's like, what? We do the peppers? Do the peppers do us? So if you want to ask a question, you need to go on Twitter and actually ask the question. So I'm going to link you guys the post. Share tweet. I'm gonna paste this directly into the chat for you guys. So if you would like to ask a question that is supposed to be answered on this stream, this is the link right here. I'll pop this link up, and you will find a post by Diablo. It says, we're just 2 hours away from the Diablo IV Twitter Spaces live Q&A with Rod Ferguson and Joe Shelley. Submit your questions in the comments below. So we're waiting on it to go live. It's not live yet. I have the page up, and it does not have anything on it at this particular moment. So we're just waiting, basically. But we shall see. If you'd like to watch the stream without me in the way, I don't know why you would want to watch it without me in the way. I mean, golly gee, must hate my guts. Golly gee. I'm just kidding. If you want to watch it without me, this is the link to watch it without me. So this is the direct link to the Q&A. If you want to check out the direct link. That's the direct link to the Twitter Q&A. That should take you right there. It's not up yet, obviously. So we got to wait. I'm going to go derp around on my spicy arrows real quick. In fact, let me take a quick bathroom break because I did just finish streaming Sons of the Forest for quite some time. And I do need a little bit of a pepedudas myself. I'll be right back. All right. So we're almost there. A couple more minutes. So, let me put this a little bit again. I'm going to spam this in chat for you guys. If you want to ask a question, ask a question here. This is where you ask a question. I'm posting it in both Twitter and YouTube. That's where you ask a question. All right, so if you want to ask a question, you need to ask it on that post. Also, the actual direct link to the page, if you guys want to check it out without me being on here, that is the direct link. Not exactly sure when this thing is actually going to start, but I'm waiting on it. Sometimes they start a little bit early, is what I mean, and sometimes they start it right on time. So we're going to find out one way or the other. Meanwhile, I'm gonna go shoot some stuff with my little bow girl in the background here. Ambushed right at the frickin' door. Can't even move 2 feet. Rude asses. Nice. What is my natural hair color? My natural hair color is strawberry blonde, which is basically the red beard and the hair that doesn't quite match the beard, and it doesn't ever look quite right. Ever. Never. I've actually had people come up to me and be like, "Do you dye your beard?" I'm like, "No." I kill you for asking me this question of insensitivity, and I just dropped my peanut butter cup on the ground over there. What is the humanity? I'm going to use my Steam Deck to get my peanut butter cup. Haha, a worthy tool. So I went ahead and asked my most important question, which is... My most important question was, are they going to be adding new classes? I think some of us are a little let down by the classes that they started out with. You know, like there's some Pally mains out there, I think, that are just a little sad that there's no Paladin. I know I am. We got 3 minutes. I'm gonna keep refreshing this page, by the way. Still nothing. 2 more minutes. I'm not really sure they're going to bring sets back in. I think the main problem with the sets right now, especially in Diablo 2, is that they just don't let players have the freedom that they should have. They're like chains. They bind you. They don't free you. They bind you in a sea of inequity. And you're just stuck doing whatever the set tells you to do, which is kind of terrible, to be honest. Alright, let's do another refresh on the page. Listen live? What? I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Doesn't look like there's something to look at. Is that what's going on? This is just an audio doojank? It says that I've joined. There's 315 in the space at the moment. It says Rod Ferguson is in here. Joe Shelley is in here. The speaker has joined. I'm not really sure what's going on, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to go ahead and close out Diablo, though. And yeah, party size is 4. We learned that last time. I'm a little bit bummed about the 4 players too. I didn't really think 4 players was a good idea in my opinion. Where did I access the live stream?
Good afternoon, everyone. We are here live on Twitter Spaces. We have some wonderful guests here to join us as we talk all things Diablo, specifically around the Q&A.
Sorry.
And I know that we have a few special guests here to join us. I just wanted to give a quick shout out and thanks to Twitter Gaming for hosting this awesome opportunity to have a good discussion around Q&A around open beta that's coming up. And of course, another special thing that we do want to talk about this morning. But first, to our guests, we have Rod Ferguson, who is the GM of the Diablo franchise. We have Joe Shelley, who's the game director of Diablo 4. And we have Danny Rodriguez, also Daniela Rodriguez, who's our director of marketing for Diablo. And of course, myself, who's community lead for the Diablo franchise as well. Happy to have you guys here. And I guess like one of the first things that we do want to talk about is obviously everyone saw the really cool live action trailer that we had that came out this morning. And I think Danny wants to talk a little bit about that. She's actually part of this Twitter space specifically for that and give a little bit more context in regards to the live action trailer and of course the sweepstakes that we announced this morning. So Danny, want to give us some more information on that?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Danny, the director of global marketing for Diablo 4, and I'm really happy to be here. Today was a really exciting day for us here, and hopefully for you all tuning in here to see a huge, literally huge project we've been working on behind the scenes. If you're listening in and haven't checked it out, kind of to what Adam was saying, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch it. It's up on our YouTube channel. It's called the Diablo 4 Beta live action trailer. And we also shared it earlier this morning on our Twitter page if you just want to hop on over there and scroll down if it's easier to just scroll down, check it out. But to essentially recap what we did while we're here is it's not what you would normally expect from a live action trailer. We actually decided to tell the story of Diablo 4 by creating a massive Diablo themed masterpiece, and we had it painted for real on the ceiling of a deconsecrated cathedral in Cambrai, France. It's absolutely insane. We actually did it for real. There's also a behind the scenes video that shows and proves that we did it for real. And we're actually even considering maybe we have it open at some point so that you can triple believe me and go check it out yourself. Who knows? But why we're doing this, why we did this, if you guys haven't seen it already, but I'm sure a ton of you folks listening in have seen some of the artwork from Diablo 4, and you see that we're very inspired by great Gothic artworks like painters like Caravaggio, and we wanted to take that style that is so uniquely ownable by Diablo 4 and give it an epic scale treatment, which is essentially painting it on a huge ceiling. We couldn't have done this without our partners at 72 and Sunny. Like, so huge shout out to them. We've been working with them for quite a while on a ton of different Diablo works and even across all of ABK, Call of Duty, WoW. And we were so excited to work with them on this. We literally couldn't have done it without them. They really spearheaded bringing this to life with us and their production partners, Wildlife. They worked with an amazing artist called Adam Miller and his team of artists who, they brought into the fold and they are absolutely incredible. Like, go check out all of their work and show them some love and appreciation because what they do is absolutely insane. You can see all the work that went into this in the behind the scenes videos. So again, go check that out. I want to kind of cover like two things that I've been seeing. A lot of folks have been asking if it's Charles Dance who's narrating. Yes, it is. And the second thing that I wanted to cover is that you can enter for a chance to win your face painted within the walls of this church as part of this epic masterpiece. It's crazy. To enter, all you have to do is jump into the open beta, which hopefully you all are going to do anyways, create a class, and get it to max level, which is level 25, and you're in. You just have to make sure that you opt in. If you go to diablo4.com/beta sweepstakes, register and you're signed up. Classes that are made in early access don't count. They've got to be during open beta. But it would be really cool to enter for a chance to win something that is truly, truly unique. So really excited about this. I am so stoked for all of you to finally get your first hands look at Diablo 4 in the beta. It's gonna blow your minds. Hopefully, just as this piece did for you two. Super excited for that, and also everything that we've got up our sleeves on the creative marketing side for launch. I think you're gonna be really excited about what we're gonna show up ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny, for sharing more information about the live action trailer that everyone got to see this morning. It is real. I've seen so many comments that people have been saying like, "Oh, this is completely CG." There's a behind the scenes video and everything, as Danny had mentioned. So it is real, and of course, you get the opportunity to potentially win your face on the mural itself, which is really cool. And I know that I can't win myself, so I'm hoping people jump into the beta and they get the opportunity to put themselves into the sweepstakes. We do want to take some time.
I mean, who doesn't want to put their face on a church ceiling? I mean, it's just a thing you have to do, isn't it? Like, isn't that something you want to do?
I mean, that's like everyone's bulleted list, like before their bucket list before.
It's on their bucket list. Is I want to put my face on the ceiling of a cathedral. That sounds.
If
cool.
it wasn't already on their bucket list, it should be now.
It should be now, yeah. Well, but there's 25 is how you get into the sweepstakes, but there's things along the way, is there not?
Yes, there.
I think there's other rewards and awards you get for playing the beta, yes. Like my favorite, which is level 20. But there's the first title for getting to Kyovashad, which is finishing the prologue. And then there's another title for level 20. And then there's, the beta puppy wolf pack for level 20. Who doesn't love a little sleeping puppy wolf that's on your back while you kill demons? I mean, it's so cool.
I just want to let everyone in the Diablo community know that Rod has been talking about this beta wolf pack every single minute of every single day. So please get to level 20 so you all have your own beta wolf pack, and Rod can shine from the stars because of that.
I mean, watching Joe put his face into his hands when hearing me talking about the beta wolf pack makes me think maybe I am overhyping it too much.
No,
but
no, you can't.
I have to say it at least once per day.
You can't overhype the beta wolf pack. That is the most adorable.
Sorry, I interrupted your flow, Adam, because I just don't like to sit here silently. So you keep going.
Of course. Well, we do have a lot of questions that a lot of the Diablo community actually did submit to the Diablo Twitter handle, and we do want to jump into those questions so that Rod and Joe can kind of go through them. There's a lot of good questions in here. We received a lot of questions, and we unfortunately can't get to them all, but we did end up grabbing some of them. I'm going to make an attempt to say these names on Twitter, but some people got some crazy names, so I don't want to completely butcher it. But I will say our first question is actually specific to the cathedral and the sweepstakes and so forth. So this one's actually for Danny, but it's from Max on Twitter. He says, "Can I enter in this cathedral sweepstakes more than once? Is the opportunity for humans only, or if I win, could I theoretically have my dog on the ceiling? Such a cool opportunity. Thank you."
So it is only one entry. So if you get multiple classes up to max level, it doesn't count. It's just you just got to do it once. As for putting your dog in the ceiling, I think after just hearing Rod talking about being very pro puppies on your back, think we could potentially work out maybe you have a puppy pack on your back. But definitely want to showcase your face on this. You're the legend that got to max level and kicked butt in the trailer. So definitely want to show you up there. But if there's a little puppy riding on your back while you're slaying demons, that could be really cool to see.
Awesome.
Just Danny committing to stuff live and on air. That's stuff that not yet before decided that Danny is just like all in on. So, a lot of people are now reacting and scrambling because of what Danny's talking about. So just so you know.
Adam Miller and his team are probably like, we don't specialize in puppies.
Exactly. Way to play it, Danny. You're like, sure, we can add more stuff. It's only people painting on the ceiling. That's all. It's super simple, easy to do.
All right. Second question we have. This is from My List 1. What about crossplay in Diablo 4? Will it be only between different generations of consoles? For example, PS4 can play with PS5, or full-scale crossplay where everyone can play with every single platform, PC, PlayStation, and Xbox?
Oh, I went with this one because Joe's going to handle most of the rest of them. So crossplay is full crossplay and cross progression. So you can play PS4 with PC, PS5 with Xbox. You can do, you can mix and match as you want, but it's not only crossplay where you can play with others, you can actually cross progress. So if you want to, you could, play on your Xbox at home and then go into work and play on your PC during only at lunch. I'm sure you would never do it during work hours, but you can play on PC, you can drop and go and play on your PlayStation and progress the same characters. So those characters that you have will exist on all the platforms you own the game for.
Perfect. Next question comes from Diablo Next. In which languages will the beta be available?
I can take that one again because, again, the more detailed stuff is going to be Joe. But basically, the game is currently being localized into 13 languages, a mixture of text and audio. And so the beta will represent those 13 languages. But because of the beta is pre-release software, as we like to say, it will not have necessarily complete localization when you play it. So, but they will be localized to the point of where they are when we made that build.
So beta not fully localized, but final obviously completely localized. But you still have there will still be beta or localization in the beta for at least text for most of it, and a little bit for VO.
Yeah, for all the 13 languages we support.
Awesome. And then I'm not going to butcher this name, so I'm not going to actually say who it is. But Ajularita, I don't. See, this is really bad. Why did they hire me for this? Will we have the possibility?
I ask that question every day, Adam. I ask the question every day.
Single day. You wait at the door every single morning as soon as I walk in. Will we have the possibility to save customized character appearance setups from the beta?
So you won't be able to save them from the beta to release, although there's no the character. I assume you're talking about character appearance, and there's no power associated with that. So it's totally something. It's a really cool idea. But what I suggest is if you make a character that you think is really cool in the beta, just take a screenshot of it, and then you can set it up again in live.
Cool, awesome. And yeah, the obviously you guys can play around with the character customization in beta, and of course during the full game, there's a ton of customization you can of course do to your character in Diablo 4. From Bunpan, can you tell us a little bit more about the beta? Oh, this is perfect for Rod, but can you tell us a little bit more about the beta wolf puppy? Does his backpack or her backpack also have an anti-magic barriers for protection? Do they sleep well during battles, or will they be asking their owners for nose boops? Most importantly, can we pet them?
So no, so as we talked about in sort of previous blogs, and as we talk about things, like it's all cosmetic. So there's no power benefit to the puppy wolf pack or the beta wolf pack, and so we haven't shown all the animation because I think he actually yawns at some point. So that's that's where we're going to be. When we want to push it over the cuteness edge, we're going to show you what it looks like yawning. But no, so it will sleep the entire time you're fighting. And you can't pet that particular dog, but you can pet dogs in the world. So your puppy stays safe in its backpack and doesn't hop down. So no petting of the puppy.
If you want to RP though, you can try to make sure that you're always facing enemies since the puppy is on your back. So just try to make sure no fireballs hit him.
And Diablo 4 has hardcore, so just feel the guilt of losing your character with that puppy pack on you. So you don't want that if you're playing hardcore, which is important. For another question from Kix, Joe, and Rod, and Danny. As Diablo employees, what character classes will you be selecting during the beta, and why?
So I think I'll probably play the Druid in beta. The Druid is the class that I've spent the least time with over over the development. And the Druid is incredibly cool. It has it's each of our classes has its own unique class mechanic, and Druid's class mechanic is especially awesome. Now it's actually not in the beta itself. It's in Skosglen, because Skosglen is natural has a natural association with the Druids. But the Druid transformation into a bear and werewolf, you can because the way that it works is when you use a skill that requires that you're a bear, you turn into a bear automatically, and then you remain in bear form for a little bit. So you can stay in bear form as long as you want by simply using skills that are associated with being a bear.
Perfect. Actually, I'll go to Rod next. Rod, what class do you plan on playing during beta?
Anybody who's following me on Twitter would know very easily what class I'm going to be playing in the open beta when it's available, which is the Necromancer, because I just got the Necromancer class symbol tattooed on my body as my sacrifice to our mother Lilith. So so I think in early access I'm probably going to go Rogue, but then in open beta I'm going to go Necro.
Rogue for Rod. Danny, what about yourself?
Oh man, I mean, I gotta say Druid, because then you can be a wolf with a little puppy pack. No? Anybody? No? All right. Adam, who are you gonna run as?
I already gave my answer on the live stream, which is Druid, because I'm a Druid fanboy and have always been since Diablo 2. But the Rogue is a secondary one that I will probably be playing even at launch, just because it's the most flashy class, I personally think. Or even it's just crazy in terms of flashiness. So I feel like if you want to be a show off, you go for the Rogue. All right. Next question. This one may be good for Danny. Does the beta live action trailer hint at any spoilers in the game? Should we be combing through the pictures on the ceiling?
You know, it's taking like everything in me to like try and repress like Rod's face is somewhere up there, but it's not. But no spoilers in there. It really just tells generically kind of the stories of our heroes. You'll see the rogue, barbarian, druid, necro, and sorc, all fighting against the different evils that you'll face in Diablo 4. And then eventually they make their way up to the grand finale, which is Lilith, and you see her huge in the back dome of the church. So nothing necessarily spoiler in that one, just the overall battle against evil and Lilith, and a hero's journey through Diablo 4.
All right, next question. This is from Doomscream. I know this person, big person in the Diablo community. What could we expect in terms of crafting systems during the beta?
So Diablo 4's crafting at launch is focused around item modification. And a lot of that item modification becomes especially relevant as you get toward the end game. So you'll be able to do some things like upgrade your item, the power of your items at the blacksmith in beta. But a lot of the crafting systems are the kinds of things, when you're leveling up, especially at early levels, you're getting new gear pretty frequently. And so when you're modifying that gear, it doesn't always make sense to put a lot of time into a specific item. But as you get into the late game, that starts to make a whole lot more sense. So a lot of our item crafting, our item modification systems come in sort of later in the game.
All right, next question from Randy Savage. Probably not the wrestler, but someone who is a big Randy Savage fan. How will spellcasters work with the controller? Is Meteor, for example, set to a predetermined distance or closest monster to you?
Yes. So in Diablo 4, we put a lot of effort into making the controller feel like a comparable control scheme to the mouse and keyboard. And so part of that is making sure that the targeting systems on the controller work effectively. So first off, we added target lock, So you can specify, you can lock onto a specific enemy. And your skills, for example, Meteor will target that enemy. You can move between targets that are locked. So you can lock a target and then move to another target. It will also try to smartly adjust your target lock. If you're killing enemies, it'll try to continue to lock on intelligently enemies that are in the same direction as those enemies. This makes it really effective for sort of a kiting type of strategy. And of course, you don't have to be locked onto an enemy to effectively fight. If you're casting your skills that are targeted at an area like Meteor, will try to target a logical and intelligent place to hit, so that the Meteor is effective at hitting a lot of enemies at once.
All right. Next question that we have here is from Ubear. Is there a server region separation, or is it possible to play the beta with people from other continents?
So the way this works is, in general, the game is going to, as you're running around the world and you're sort of happening across other players, you're going to tend to happen across other players that are relatively close to you in terms of their latency, because that's going to result in the best play experience. But you can actually invite anyone from anywhere in the world to your party and play with them.
All right. And then next question from Magic Man. Will Diablo 4 be a return to darkness? I feel like it will be, just based off of things we've known, but I don't know if Rod or Joe want to clarify.
I think that I always go back to the formula that we always talk about with, like, the when you're thinking about how Diablo 4 pays homage to the past and then, brings forward its own innovation. So the notion around, I always say when I talk about it, and Joe and I talk about it, is basically it's the dark tone that you think about when you think about Diablo 1. It's sort of the kind of that permanent progression, the progression systems that you feel in Diablo 2. It's that visceral combat and exciting combat you have in Diablo 3, and then the innovations of Diablo 4 itself, with its shared open world and so much choice and freedom that you have in the game, and character creation and who you play with and how you play through the story. But that phrase "return to darkness" is really means a lot to us on the team, because we actually use that as it's sort of our kind of our motto. That we didn't want to use it too much publicly, just because you have to understand what Diablo was to understand what does it mean to return to darkness. And so that's why you see even today in the cathedral piece, it says "deliver us from evil," which is really more of how we want to talk about it. Like, this is your job, as you're fighting the daughter of hatred, and so you help deliver sanctuary from evil. But that idea of going back to what was that tone, that sort of where it was almost, it felt like you were doing something a little bit naughty, like by playing this sort of a cult-based game that is full of demons and darkness and those sorts of themes. And I think you're going to get that in the beta. We know when people played the preview in November, like the second cinematic in the game pretty much sets the tone pretty quickly. So if you have any questions, and very quickly you'll understand that it's dark.
Yeah, one of the things I think is really, and you kind of hit on it, Rod, is the darkness applies to both the tone of the game and the tone of the world and the tone of the story and your experiences in the game, and it also applies to the actual lighting. So if you'd had a chance to check out the intro cinematic for the game, where you're riding on the horse, there's a lot of dark lighting scenes in that. And one of the things that we've spent a lot of time on is getting that mix of darkness, in terms of the actual lighting in the world, correct, so that it helps reinforce the dark tone, without obstructing gameplay, right? Because you need to be able to see the enemies you're fighting.
All right, next question. This one I'm not sure how much we can answer, but I think there's a good maybe a tie into even the prior answer, but anything about this from Void, anything about Lilith? I want to know more about her.
Well, what I would suggest, so you're going to learn a lot more about Lilith from playing the beta. She's a key character, as you might imagine, including through the early levels of the game. So you're going to learn a lot more than I could tell you right here.
The thing, like, what's really interesting is around the idea that, well, first of all, we know she's the daughter of hatred. We know that she's the daughter of Mephisto, and we know that she helped create Sanctuary with the Angel of Nereus. And the question about, like, what's her motivations and why is she back this time? It's personal. No, like the notion about why is she returned to Sanctuary. But I think what's really interesting is, like, one of the nice things about Diablo 4, I think sometimes the 4 can be a little intimidating for players, where they go and look at, oh, there's been 3 games previous. Like, this is, Diablo is like 27 years old. It's been around a while. Like, and that's something that's part of what's exciting about it. It is such a storied franchise. But I think the idea that Diablo 4 can be a little intimidating because you feel like, oh, I'm coming in on the 4th version. Like, what does that mean? Am I missing out? Am I missing part of the story? And I'm here to say, no, that's not the case. We've got a lot of separation. It's like, was it, Joe, like 25 years between D3 and D4? And you're coming into, sorry, I had my thing. You were probably talking. I talked over you. I apologize.
About 40.
What did you say?
About 40.
So the notion that there's a big enough separation between them that you can come in cold and never having played a Diablo game before, and this is a great time to be a Diablo player, and you get to go in and experience the story that you don't need to have a lot of backstory to understand. Everything is sort of clearly laid out. It's all new characters that, in the sense that we're not relying a lot on the past, other than sort of the primevals and kind of the origin of that Sanctuary. But even that gets explained to you as you're playing through. So yeah, when I look at it, like, one of the things that's great about a game that has evolved over 27 years is that, we saw when we brought back Diablo 2 Resurrected, we saw, like, whoa, what a 21-year-old game felt like, and it's a lot of great stuff, but also some rough edges. And what's nice is that we were able to continue to sand those rough edges down, and now Diablo 4 feels great to play, and it's really an easy game to on board with. And so I really hope that people come to it even if they've never played a Diablo game before.
I just want to add in that playing the beta, as Joe mentioned, is a great way to learn more about Lilith. Great way. And it kind of ties back into even what Rod was mentioning in the prior answer, of something to keep an eye out during beta. Next question is from Dan the Postman. Can you share more information about the Necromancer before the beta? I'll leave that to Joe and Rod.
Yeah. So, the Necromancer is a really interesting class, and there's a reason that this class keeps returning to the franchise. It represents a different play style, a very distinct play style from some of the other play styles that you see. You have this sort of idea of commanding an army, and there's a lot of really interesting things you can do with that. You can set up builds that have you as the Necro standing behind your army of skeletons, or of your abomination, or you can have a build that sacrifices some of those, that has more of the player up front, and it's something that's really sort of really different, and it's such a fundamental part of Diablo. And with Diablo 4, we've because the Necromancer has appeared in previous Diablo games, we have people who have played the Necromancer in other Diablo games, and they'll say, oh, the D2 was my favorite, or D3 was my favorite, or whatever, and they're correctly expecting that they'll be able to recapture that gameplay experience in D4. So the Necro is really a very diverse kind of character in terms of its gameplay.
All right. Will co-op communication be enabled during beta? Voice, text, etc.
Yes. you will be able to use text and voice. Yeah, in beta.
Cool. So this next question is from Xanth. The Xanth is actually someone who hosts a very popular community Diablo podcast. And it's actually a question that we have not answered before and has some new information specifically for this Twitter space, which is really cool. So his question is, what's the Druid class mechanic? Because I don't think we've actually gone over that really. And I'm not sure if you want to dive into that, Joe.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna do the full strategy guide breakdown on it. Just trying to do it over an interview. I would leave stuff out, but I'll give you some high level info. So as I mentioned before, the druid is closely aligned with Skazglen, which is our green sort of Moors zone. And as they level up, around when they head over to Skazglen, which will be around level 15 likely. And again, in beta, you'll be able to access all of the Fractured Peaks zone, but you won't be able to go to Skazglen. So you'll have to wait for the live game to check this out. But it's very cool because you'll be able to interact with 4 different spirit animals that live in the Turdulra area of Skazglen. And these spirits will accept boons that you can get from enemies. Enemies will drop boons. You can interact with the spirits to give them these boons, and the boons will actually unlock additional bonuses for the player. Now, you can only choose one spirit to be aligned with at a time, but you can switch them back and forth. So as you unlock the boons for different spirits, and you can eventually unlock all of the boons for all the spirits, you'll be able to choose, depending on what kind of gameplay you're doing at the moment, you'll be able to choose which spirit you want to be aligned with. And in fact, once you've unlocked all of them, you'll even get the additional ability to have a bond with one extra spirit. So you'll get access to 5 boons instead of 4.
Awesome. Cool. First information we've heard about the Druid class mechanic right here, which is good. And people will be able to experience it during beta, of course, when you get to play the Druid. And then we have a question from Craig Thompson. From a gamer who has never played a Diablo game before, what are the key reasons why I should consider buying the upcoming Diablo 4?
I thought Rod was going to jump in and tell us more about the Wolf Pack. But you actually don't have to buy the game to get that. You just have to play in beta. Well, I think that Diablo 4 is the best Diablo game that we've ever made, and it's not because we're, superheroes or something. It's just, the team has been working incredibly hard on it for, some years now. And, we have a lot of foundation in terms of previous Diablo games that players have loved to learn from. And we've been able to reach out to the incredible community, including the folks who are here today, to get feedback on how to make the game the best that it can be.
All right. And last question that we have is, are we allowed to freely stream the early access beta? I can answer this one, I guess, but you can. Yes, you can stream early access beta, and you can also stream during open beta. It's fully available for people to actually stream and share with any of their communities that they may have on Twitch or YouTube or other platforms that they actually prefer to stream on. So, but I think that is all the time we have right now for this Diablo Q&A. I don't know if anyone has any parting words from Rod, Joe, Danny, from your ends, if you want to say anything else back to the Diablo community.
Yeah, I do. I want to make sure I was clear about the Druid mechanics, because I know some folks are going to put this up later, and people will be asking how it works. So to be totally clear, when you've got all the spirits unlocked, you'll be able to choose 1 boon from each spirit and 2 boons from one of them for a total of 5. I got really nerdy there. Sorry.
That's perfect. It's perfect. Anything for you, Danny?
I think I kind of covered it in the upfront, but kind of to echo a bit of what Joe was covering in one of the last questions is just this game is Diablo cranked up to an 11. It's really cool, all the hard work that Joe, Rod, the dev team, like they've put in so much love and care into this game, and it really shows. And what we really are inspired by when we're looking at how we market this game in really creative ways, like our cathedral activation. We really look at what makes Diablo 4 unique, and something that we're really inspired by is just the amount of choice that you have in it. Like, you've got so much unprecedented freedom to just choose how you want to play, what class you want to play, how you want to customize that class, whether how it looks, its appearance, or even like your play style, where you want to go. Do you want to team up with friends? Do you not? So that was just something that I think really echoes in the piece that we created. You're going to get to experience it firsthand, and can't wait to see all the bananas customization that people are going to probably share on social as soon as they step in. I'm super looking forward to random red eyes on like super white bodies and just crazy things. But super excited. Can't wait for you guys to play it, and see you there.
I think for me, I just wanted to comment to say, like, this is another time for the community to help with us with the game. Like, oftentimes a beta will be seen as sort of this, it's essentially a demo under a different name, the quote unquote marketing beta. And for us, it's not really that. It's a combination. We want people to get an experience with the game. You get to play the entire first act. Like, it's a lot, that experience you get to have with the game. But it's going to help us a lot with the game. It's in terms of, what is the balance of that first act, but also just having all these players show up. One of the things we want is to launch to be as smooth as possible. And one of the ways we do that is have these 2 focused betas to get as many players in playing as possible, so we can test our servers, we can test all the technology we have running the game. So, and we want to hear your feedback. We want to hear if you saw some issues, because again, it's a beta and it's early. If you have some feedback about the balance or the way things certain work, like, this is a great time to give us that input as we're getting ready to close down this game and ship it to you on June 6th, but really we've got the early access happening on June 1st. So please hop in, test it out, and at least get to 20. I mean, you want the dog, right? Like, you want the wolf, but at least hop in, play both weekends if you can, and let us know what you think.
Awesome. Yeah, and just a reminder for everyone, we're going to be, we do have a beta guide blog up on Diablo4.com. So if you guys have any questions related to the beta, make sure to reference that blog post that we have up there. We'll be updating that again here in March, a little bit before the beta, to actually give some additional information, including preload times and so forth from that end. But a huge thanks to Twitter Gaming for having us and for hosting this. And a huge thanks, of course, to Rod, Joe, and Danny for joining us here. Just wanted to say, looking forward to jumping into the beta with all the Diablo community, and of course, on behalf of the Diablo developers here at Blizzard, and of course, everyone here, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you guys in beta.
And that is it. Ended. All right, so we have some other stuff to look at here. They mentioned it during the stream. First is the sweepstakes. So they have a sweepstakes video. If you guys want to check it out for yourself and you don't want to watch it with me, my big old head in the way, which I'm probably going to take my head out of the way for the video. But if you guys want to watch it on your own, you guys are more than welcome to. Here, I'll put a link in chat for you guys. There's also another video. Apparently it was a live action trailer. And we're going to take a look at the live action trailer real quick as well. So let's look at this one first. Let me take my big old head off the screen. No, don't do that. Okay, so there was an address there. That was Diablo 4. Let's take a look at that real quick. Let me just go ahead and type it in. Diablo4.com/beta sweepstakes. And I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste that into chat for you guys as well. And we're going to take a look at it on stream because why not? They got a bunch of doojanks coming out today, and we're taking a look at all the doojanks. All right, so it looks like you have to opt in. Hatred has returned, and now is your chance to cast your light and become a legend. Sign up below and reach the max level with any class in Diablo IV Open Beta to enter for a chance to have your face painted into a colossal Diablo fresco inside the walls of the La Chapelle des Jesuites in France. Where the hell is that? It's legit a real cathedral. An actual real cathedral. That's pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. By clicking opt-in, I acknowledge that I've read, understood, and agreed to Diablo 4 beta sweepstakes. So you got to actually opt in. So I'll click opt-in there. And now I have opted in. Compare editions, and that's pretty much it for that. All right, so we also have another interesting doojank here, which is the live action trailer. They were talking about this. This was posted on the Xbox page, not the Diablo page. This one is right here, if you guys want to take a look at it again, separate from the stream. And hold on, let me get this unmuted.
Hatred has returned, and she shall not relent until she has corrupted us all. But somewhere in the shadow of her darkness, you must cast your light to find hope in a flash of steel, or wrath of nature, or power of flame. You must stand up to hatred, or she will destroy us all. Your time is now.
Pre-order Diablo 4 on Xbox.
Alright, so that's the Diablo 4 live beta action trailer. A little doojank on there, why not? So we could also go over some of the stuff that they talked about. Sorry if that's like insanely bright. Let me just take that off the screen. There's no reason for you guys to have to see that anymore. So one of the things that they did go over, which was pretty cool, was the Druid boons and how the Druid boons are apparently going to work. So basically, from what I gathered of what they were saying, the Druid boons are essentially things that you have to actually physically earn. You don't just get access to them. You don't just choose them. You've got to go find the spirit, you know, the animal spirit. You've got to find the animal spirit, and you have to do things for the animal spirit to earn the animal spirit's trust. And apparently you can choose up to 2 animal spirits at any given time. And you can choose, what was it, 3 boons from one animal spirit and 2 boons from the other, or 5 from one, 2 from the other. I can't even remember. I remember it was 2 from the second one. So that your secondary animal is going to be the one that has the lesser choices. And then your primary animal is going to have the majority of your choices. So this is going to have druids running around trying to find their appropriate spirit, and obviously, you know, actually getting access to them. They've got a lot of stuff going on with the beta too. Like, I mean, this is kind of silly, but you know, you got the wolf pup, which you can get at level 20. They've got a bunch of special titles that you can earn. Then they also have the sweepstakes running if you hit level 25. So I mean, they're really trying to promote people to come in and play the beta, which I mean, obviously they've got this open beta, so why wouldn't they want people to come play? What else did they talk about? Talked about the wolf pup a lot, which is kind of silly. I mean, I like the wolf pup, don't get me wrong, but they focused on it a little bit too much. Some of the questions that we got about the wolf pup were also a little weird, and there was also a really odd moment in there. I don't know if you guys heard it, where somebody asked a silly question about, like, is there a mystical shield protecting the wolf pup? The person answering the question, like, completely confused what was asked with what was intended, and started to go off into like a thing about, no, the wolf pup is just cosmetic. The wolf pup doesn't provide any buffs or anything, right? And I was like, they were making a joke, like, you know, the wolf pup protected by, you know, like mystical shields so that the wolf pup doesn't die in the middle of combat. Like, they were making a joke. And the guy took it like really serious and was like, no, the wolf pup doesn't provide any defensive bonuses. It's not going to make you stronger or give you extra armor. And cosmetic only, cosmetic only, cosmetic only. And I was like, sir, that's not what she was making he was making I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to tell that guy. I think they went on it's cosmetic only rant a little bit too much, because the person was just asking questions, you know, like, he's not going to die in combat, which I think is a pretty important question, because you wouldn't want your wolf pup to die in combat or something. That would be pretty crappy, right? You earn your wolf pup, and then it's just like, oh, your wolf pup died. You now have lost access to your wolf pup. You can no longer use your wolf pup ever again. And then, you know, like, and then they were talking about whether you could interact with the pup, like whether you could boop its nose or, you know, like pet the puppy or stuff like that. And I think that kind of went right over his head too a little bit there. But he did say that there's going to be dogs within the world that you can pet, which are, you know, yeah. I'm going to be honest with you, there wasn't a whole lot in this Q&A to like pull out. There was some interesting little tidbits about the druid, which I think was cool. And then a lot of the questions that they chose were kind of bland, and they didn't really have much, like, to them. The question about the Necromancer didn't really get much information. I think that one girl, Danny, did actually let slip something interesting about Lilith, because she said something along the lines of, like, and then you finally confront Lilith in the final battle. And kind of makes me think that Lilith is the actual boss of the game. I mean, if that is a slip, you know, like on her part, because she literally said, it wasn't just me like inferring. She said, and then you finally confront Lilith at the final battle. You know, you know, like literally saying that Lilith was like the final battle of the game, and I don't know if that's just like her talking about one particular fight sequence, or if her basically saying that Lilith is like the last boss of the game. They did let us know, though, that we would find out a lot more about Lilith during the beta. So we're going to be finding out a whole lot more about Lilith during the beta. Somebody asked that, and apparently the answer to that question was yes. During the beta, you're going to be finding out a whole lot about Lilith. A lot more than you wanted to know. Probably some dirty pictures, you know. Slide me a little 5, and maybe I give you some skin. D4 is not a prequel. No, D4 is a sequel to Diablo 3. I don't really know. Like, I do feel like Lilith is a very strong like plot point, so to speak, in the series. I definitely think Lilith is one of those ones that people are interested in the most. Inarius is pretty popular too, because they're obviously the father and the mother of Sanctuary. I did a couple videos a while back, like going over Inarius and going over Lilith, and they did pretty well. But I think I remember Inarius's being a little bit less than Lilith's. Yeah, I had about 2,298 views on Inarius's video and 3,074 on Lilith's video. I also did a poll a while back, and it seemed pretty steady, like 50-50 between the two. But it did seem like it was edging a little bit closer to the Blessed Mother than Inarius. So it's a hard choice when you really think about it. You know, you've got Inarius, who was once an angel, but is also just horribly vain, and has shown that he can make the wrong choices. And you've got Lilith, who is a manipulating, like, just a horrible manipulator. I mean, if you go and actually look through her story, she is just the queen of manipulation. She manipulated Inarius. She manipulated Aldesean. She manipulated Aldesean's son. Like, that's what she does. She's a manipulator. And I don't know if she ever actually loved Inarius. I know Inarius really did love Lilith. There was actually real love there in Inarius's heart for her. But I don't know if Lilith ever really loved Inarius. That part of the equation I haven't quite been able to figure out, but it doesn't seem like it. I mean, as we go forward, I'm assuming that we're definitely going to find out more. I've dived into the novels as well, Brandon, and that's where you find out a lot about Lilith and how she basically, was just a horrible person. I mean, she manipulated so many people. Aldesean was one of those, and Aldesean, even though Aldesean loved her as she pretended to be, when he found out what she really was, like, he tried to kill her. And then, like, it didn't matter, though, because she had already planted all the seeds necessary to make Aldesean go fight Inarius. And Inarius went and fought Aldesean because, literally, like, he stole her women, his woe man. Like, it's all absolutely nuts. But the moral of the story is that Lilith lost, and Inarius lost. They both lost. Lilith got locked up forever, and so here, I put the videos up, Beaker. Lilith got locked up forever, and Inarius also got locked up forever. So both of them lost, and both of them got locked up forever, and that's the moral of the story of both of them. And if you want to actually go and dive into the stories of both of them, I actually did videos. These are the two videos. I just posted them in chat. And they deep dive into both characters. So if you want to learn more about Lilith, or you want to learn more about Inarius, and you want to figure out which side that you want to be on, because Diablo did make this big poll, and they were like, which side would you choose? And everybody kind of like chose sides on that. So if you want to check it out and actually learn more about them, I've got all the quotes and everything that you need to see in these videos, as well as some pretty interesting tidbits from their past. And I think it really kind of shows you who each one of them are. I mean, if I had to sum up both of them in the simplest form, Inarius is an extremely vain person who sees himself as more than he is. And he will always be that kind of a person. He will always be vain. And like vain to the point where he literally refers to himself in the third person. Have you ever heard somebody refer to themselves in the third person? Like, could you imagine if right now I'm like, yes, because I am Ginger Gaming Mentor, and I am the Gingerist, or something stupid like that, right? Like, Inarius literally went on a rant about how amazing he was, and at the end he's like, because I am Inarius, and that's just who he is. Like, he sees himself as some sort of god, basically. and he even set himself up as a god of the religion that he's in. And in the trailer, I don't know if you guys actually have played or watched the trailer. In the trailer, he's leading an army, and the army has a symbol on their shields. And I did a little bit of research into the symbol that was on their shields, and guess what? It's the religion again. He's back. He basically just started back up his old religion again, and he's the god of his old religion all over again. Lilith, on the other hand, is completely untruthful and not forthright with anything that she does. If she has any true feelings, she doesn't really ever show them. What she shows you is what she wants you to see. And I think that's the most important thing to remember about Lilith, is that she does not show you anything more than what she wants you to see. And a lot of people, I think, go into Lilith and they think, that she's like this hero or whatever. But the truth is that if you follow her story, she deliberately manipulated Inarius. She deliberately made him steal the World Stone. She deliberately broke up with him when she felt like he was no longer worth her time. She deliberately manipulated Aldesean into fighting him. And like everything that Lilith did was for her own benefit and to further her own goals. On top of this, the really sad thing is that I don't think Inarius would ever kill her, despite everything that he did to her. And it's really what it really comes down to is that he basically promised that he would never hurt her because he loved her, and that love wasn't fake. So I doubt honestly that Inarius would ever kill Lilith. He might entrap her. He might send her to another void for all eternity, but he would never actually kill her. And that's why actually Inarius locked her in the void, not once, but 2 separate times. Inarius locked her in the void because the first time she got out, he captured her again and locked her in the void the second time. So she was stuck in the void for a really long time before she gets out in whatever happens in this part of the story. Justin Leno, yes, you did miss the Q&A, but if you rewind, I covered the entire thing. It's all on here. If you're on YouTube, just rewind. If you're not on YouTube, you can hop on YouTube, and it's all already recorded. I think it'll go up as a VOD on Twitch afterward if you guys want to check it then. I know that you can't really rewind on Twitch. Well, the Paladins are the Zakarum. So the Zakarum are a completely different doojank. Woe to the Vanquished. Which package did I buy? I had to buy the one that gave me early access, Woe to the Vanquished. They literally put in there for the was it the Ultimate and the not the regular edition, but like it was like the Ultimate and the other one, that if you bought the game you could play it like several days early. And I'm like, I'm a streamer. How would I not? Like, how could I not get the version that's going to let me play the game early? How? It's impossible. I have to get the one that's going to let me play the game early. Otherwise I'm a very, very terrible streamer. Could you imagine if I was like a professional streamer and I'm like, nah, I don't want to spend the extra $20 and get the deluxe edition. I'm just going to get the regular and I'll play it 3 days later. And then like finally when I start streaming it 3 days later, everybody's already like level 50 and they've got like tons of cool stuff. And I'm like level 1. Let's go, guys. No, it's not going to happen. I've got a lot of Diablo 4 videos up, by the way, already, but I'm going to have a hell of a lot more when Diablo 4 beta launches. We're going to be playing all the characters. I'm going to try and do all the characters. We'll do all 3 on early access, and then we'll do the other 2 on the open beta, and I'll have all those videos up for you guys to see. Probably like a complete playthrough from like level 1 to 25 for each character. as well as I'll probably go over their skill trees and talk about the various things they've got going on there, and we'll have some fun with it. We'll definitely have some fun with it. It's weird. So like Diablo has like these little partnerships that they do, and like they become Diablo partners, and like the streamers that have the Diablo partner access, like they can have early access to stuff. But like if you're not a Diablo partner, it doesn't do anything. Like they don't give you jack diddly if you're not a Diablo partner, and I'm not a Diablo partner, so. And it's weird too, like who they choose to be a Diablo partner and who they don't, because some of them are like, I don't want to use the word nobodies because I was a nobody at one time. Everybody was a nobody at one time as far as the YouTube was concerned. But when I look at how many subscribers I've got, which is like 21,000 subscribers, and then I look at some of these Diablo partners and they're like 1,000, maybe 2,000 subs, like if that. And then I'll check their Twitch too, just to like double check and make sure, maybe they have a lot of Twitch followers and they don't. And I'm like, not really sure why this particular person is on the list. Especially when like some other people that are pretty prolific Diablo streamers, like Sweet Phil, for instance, which has like double my subscribers. He's not a Diablo partner either. Like I'm not a Diablo partner. Sweet Phil's not a Diablo partner. A lot of us aren't. It's really strange. Who is going to be my first class? I don't really particularly like stealth classes, so I'm probably going to save the rogue for last. The sorceress, I mean, as much as I will play sorceresses on occasion, I don't really particularly like sorceresses either, but I like them a little bit better than I like freaking stealth classes. So for the early access, it's probably going to be Barb, Sorc, Rogue. I'll do Rogue last. And then for early access, it's probably going to be Necromancer, Druid. Bum, 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 bum. I'm looking forward to trying out a build that I did. So if you guys haven't seen my video, let me put this up on stream real quick. So I have a video where I've already gone over all the skill trees of all the characters. Somebody actually put out a skill planner for Diablo 4. And I went through the process of literally just going over every single skill and talking about different builds. And one of the things that I did was I kind of like theory crafted a Barbarian. I called him my Bleedbarian. And I played around with this for a while, so I'll probably build my Bleedbarian, and there's the link to the live stream if you want to check it out. But all the skill trees are in there. They're not all 100% complete, but I spent a long time just going over the skill trees, just playing around with the like the way that the skills worked, looking at the different builds that you could possibly theory craft out of them. And I do feel like the skill trees have a lot of theory craft possibilities. My Bleed Barbarian was just one of many different builds that I saw within there. And if you watch the video, what you'll see is that I very easily classify out certain builds. Now, there could obviously be more builds than what I originally classified, but it seems very clear that they have kind of like pathways for you to take with whatever you would want to do. So, for instance, with the Druid, and you know what? Let's bring up the skill calculator. Why not? Because it's been a little while since I took a look at it, and let's see if the skill calculator has. That is the wrong link, isn't it? Gosh, dang it! Sorry, I gave you guys the wrong link. Look at me giving wrong links. Here you go. Here's the correct link, I think. My bad. I don't think that other one works. All right, so let's go take a look at the skill calculator real quick, because I kind of want to show you what I'm talking about here. Bink. All right, let's bring this up on stream so you guys can see it. All right, so this is the build calculator, and let's go into the Druid real quick because I want to show you this one. The easiest way to take a look at the tree, by the way, and they definitely have added some more stuff in here, that's for sure. I'm assuming those are the different classes. Kind of takes a minute to load up here. Heightened Malice, Polymorphic, Roots of Nature, Spiritual Guidance. These look like Paragon boards, so let's ignore the Paragon boards for right now. That's just stuff that you'll be doing later after level 50. So this is the actual skill tree, and basically at the bottom of the skill tree, if you take a look at the capstones will really tell you everything you need to know. So these are the capstones down here, and it seems to me like they have set out for you multiple different paths that you can take. So if you take a look at the first one, it says Ursine Strength, gain 20% additional maximum life while in the werebear form for 3 seconds after leaving werebear form. So one would assume, looking at this is a werebear trait, right? This is specifically for a werebear. It's not for the werewolf. It's not for the main druid. It's not for a caster druid. It's for the werebear, right? So this is a buff that you would take if you were strictly a werebear druid. This one right here is specifically for the combo. So as you can see, it says after being a werewolf for 2.5 seconds, gain 20% increased attack speed for 15 seconds. After being a werebear for 2.5 seconds, deal 20% increased damage for 15 seconds. So this one here is specifically for a character who is going to swip and swap between the werewolf and the bear. Okay, so this is a double. All right, this is if you're going to be doing both the werewolf and the bear at the same time, capstone. Then we have this one right here, which is specifically for the werewolf. So as you can see, it really like, oh well, thank you, Kristen Judd, freaking $35, hell yeah. This is so as you can see already, we have bear, werewolf bear, and werewolf, right? So we already have 3 very specific capstones here, very specific to what you'd want to do. Then right here we have Earthen Might, which is specifically for the Earth Druid. So this is if you're going to choose a spellcaster druid that's using the Earth spells. This one right here, Nature's Fury, is a combo. So this one is if you were going to use the nature skills, the storm skills, and the earth skills together. So this one allows you to have a caster that is a combo caster, so that you're doing both earth and storm spells at the same time. And then finally, we have the Perfect Storm, which is the one that is specifically for storm skills. So if you look at it logically, they've already built in here 6 paths for you to take. So you can be a lightning caster, a storm caster. You can be a earth/storm caster. You can be a earth caster. You can be a werewolf druid. You can be a werewolf/bear druid. And I need another finger. You can be a bear druid. All right. So 6 different paths that you could potentially take. All right, so if we take a look at some of the other classes, they kind of have done the same thing. So let me just leave this right here, and let me change this to the to the Barbarian. All right, so this is the Barbarian here. And we need to go down, down, down. And this is the capstones for the Barbarian. And notice he only has 4 capstones. All right. So 1 capstone is for Berserk. So there is going to be an entire Berserk build for the Barbarian. I can already see this. I went through the tree in ad nauseum, and we looked at basically every skill that the Barbarian had, and there were tons of skills that had to do with Berserk, beefing up Berserk, getting the duration of the Berserk to its maximum, increasing damage while Berserked, increasing X while Berserked, just tons of different things you can do to make your Barbarian the most berserking Berserker that ever Berserked, all right? So that's a whole build there. There's tons of different ways that you can take advantage of Berserk, right? So that's 1. The next one is the Walking Arsenal. So this one is for the Barbarians that are going to take advantage of multiple weapons. So the Barbarian has the Arsenal system, which allows him to equip multiple weapons, and these multiple weapons are going to allow him to be able to use different abilities. If you go through the ability tree, what you're going to find is you're going to come across abilities that tell you specifically that they can only be used with a specific weapon. So like when you come across something like, where is it? Slam your hammer down. So Hammer of the Ancients. Tear into the ground with your weapon. We've got tons of different ones here. Some of these require swords. Some of these require two-handed weapons. Some of these require a mace. And so forth and so on. So if you want to use specific abilities, you need specific weapons. Well, the thing about this ability is it basically lets you use every single weapon. It gives you a buff for using more than one weapon, because you've got your two-handed bludgeoning, your two-handed slashing, your dual-wielded weapons, and so forth and so on. So this one is for the Barbarian who wants it all, who wants to have every weapon that you can possibly have. And that's just the second one. Then we have the Unbridled Rage, which is just going to give you like a huge amount to your core skills. This is probably just for those Barbarians who want to focus on core skills instead of actually like going into the ultimates and the weapon masteries and all this other stuff. Like they can focus more on their specific skills that they want to. Then we have Gushing Wounds, which is a Bleed Barbarian. So there's an entire Bleed Barbarian build in here, and I was looking at it, and you can make monsters just like gush blood. I mean, there is blood gushing everywhere, so much blood, all literally just blue wounds and wounds and wounds, and you can just make monsters just spew blood all over the place. Like they ain't even got no blood left in their body, pretty much. Like it's that insane. And then you can like shove your axe in their woundiness and like wiggle it around and like rip it out and do like lots of extra damage by like taking advantage of their wounds, shove an axe in their wound, And so you got 4 major builds here, and then there's probably a lot of sub builds that you can do in between. You've got your Berserk, you've got your Walking Arsenal, you've got your just like core skills, and then you got your Bleed build. The Druid, the Necromancer, let's go take a look at the Necromancer. The Necromancer also has some very specific stuff. So when you take a look at him, he has a strength in numbers, which is minions. So this is your army buff. So you get if you have at least 7 minions, they gain a 20% increased attack speed. So this one is something that you would choose specifically for the Commander Necromancer. The Shadow Blight seems to be very specifically like the Poison Necromancer. It does seem like shadow damage has usurped the poison damage. So poison damage kind of like doesn't exist anymore, and shadow damage has taken its place. I don't know if that's necessarily a good or a bad thing, but it just seems like they just changed the name, because it seems like all the shadow damage is pretty much the same as the poison damage. Although there is some poison that still exists on the rogue. Rothma's Vigor is increased maximum life while healthy. You deal 25% increased damage. This one seems to be more focused on the Necromancer that chooses not to have an army. And then finally, we have the Bone Skill option. So this is the Necromancer who wants to be the Bone Necromancer. So we have Bone Necromancer, Solo Necromancer, Shadow Necromancer, and Army Necromancer. And the capstones really kind of like, centrify those 4 different build types. Now, granted, like I said, you can have different ways to build your character in those types. Like you could be a summoning, but you could focus more on, like your golem instead of your skeletons or whatever. Like there are different ways that you can finagle it. And then the Necromancer, of course, has the Book of the Dead, which the Book of the Dead is kind of like how you customize your army. If you guys haven't gone over the Book of Dead, I have a whole video on the Book of the Dead already. But basically, each one of these allows you to choose, number one, if you want them or not. So you can sacrifice them. As you can see, there's a sacrifice option on every single one of these. Obviously, you can only choose one per tier. So you can have one of the skeleton warriors, one of the skeleton mages, and one of the golems. And you have three choices. You've got your skirmishers, you've got your skeletal defenders, your reapers, your mages, your shadow mages, your cold mages, and your bone mages. And then you've got the bone golem, the blood golem, and the iron golem. No clay golem, which is a little strange, especially since the clay golem is probably the most popular golem out of the entire golem lot on Diablo 2. But customizing your army in this way can lead to a pretty nice number of possibilities. In fact, I think we multiplied it out before because technically you have what? You have 3 choices per tier, right? So 3. And then you have the sacrifice option as well. So 4 choices per tier, and there's 3 tiers times 3, which makes a total number of choices of, a second. That doesn't seem right. Yeah, 4 times 3 is 12. I know that. Yeah, well, I guess 12 different ways that you can set up your Necromancer, depending on how you do things. Because obviously you could choose, like skeleton or skirmishers, and then cold mages, and then you could do like a blood golem. And then there's upgrade options too, so you can choose whether or not you want to upgrade them, which is also a thing. So those are some additional choices that are added into the mix if you want to like upgrade them to upgrade 1 or upgrade them to upgrade 2 and so forth and so on. But it's not really going to change the configuration of your army. It's still going to be, like skirmishes, cold mages, or blood golems. You're just choosing whether or not you want the upgrades. Let's move on to the next class. We're going to talk about some of these others real quick. So let's go to the Sorcerer. So the Sorcerer has, or the Sorceress, Sorcerer or Sorceress, depending on which one you choose, has quite a few capstones. As you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 capstones. And they are very specific. So the first one is most definitely an Ice Mage capstone. So if you choose to do an Ice Mage, a Frozen Orb, Blizzard, etc. sort of a character, ice shards, whatever it may be, any kind of ice ability, basically. This is like the one that you would choose for an Ice Mage, most likely. If you're gonna like grab Frozen Orb and Blizzard and you're gonna do those things, this is probably the one. Shatter is after freeze expires, enemies explode for 25% of the damage you dealt to them while frozen. So there's 2 different ones here, and these are both ice options, which is kind of strange. So lucky hit, your frost skills have up to a 10% chance to make your next ice shards, frozen orb, or blizzard consume no mana and deal 40% more damage, right? So this is not bad at all, chances doubled against vulnerable enemies. And then this one is after freeze expires, enemies explode for 25% of the damage you dealt to them while frozen, almost like a corpse explosion. And both of these are ice options. And then we have the overflowing energy, which is crackling energy hits 1 additional enemy each time crackling energy hits an additional enemy. Your shock skills cooldowns are reduced. Now this one is obviously for lightning. And then we have another one here, which is close enemies take 10% more damage from your shock skills and deal 20% less damage to you. Another shock skill option. So they got 2 ices, 2 shock skills, and then what do you think these are? They're fire. So lucky hit, up to a 50% chance to gain 1 mana per source of burning on an enemy. And then this one, of course, is Esu's Ferocity. You deal 25% increased burning damage to enemies over 50% life and 25% increased pyromancy skill direct damage to enemies under 50% life. So what we have here, which is rather odd, is unlike on the Druid where they're like, okay, we're going to give you a fire option, and then we're also going to give you a fire lightning option, and then we're going to give you, like a wolf option, and then a bear option, and then a wolf bear option. No, on this one, they don't give you any combo options. It's ice, ice, lightning, lightning, fire, fire. That's it. You can choose from fire or fire. You can choose from lightning or lightning, and you can choose from ice or ice. And I'm going to be honest, this one sounds really good. The shatter ability that causes them to explode and the monsters take damage around them sounds really powerful, and it's honestly really, really cool. It's a Diablo 4 build calculator. It's a work in progress, but it's up. If you just type in Diablo 4 build calculator, I'm sure it'll be the first result on Google. Sorry, my throat's bothering me. All right, let's take a look at the Rogue. Now, the Rogue is an interesting beast. And when I say that she's a stealth character, I guess what I should probably say is that she's she's a very mixed bag of a character. I think that's the best way to put it. She's a very mixed bag. I mean, it's like if I were to go to the store and just like pick up handfuls of candy and just throw them into a paper bag, and my girlfriend's like, "Hey, what'd you get?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just pushed my hand in, grabbed, and just threw them in a bag." Like, because that's how it feels with this character. It's like there's so much going on here that she represents what I would consider multiple classes, just like shoved into one container. If I had to like tell you which classes are shoved into the container, it would be this. Number one, the first one that's shoved into the container is the Demon Hunter. This is definitely a Demon Hunter. If you played Diablo 3 at all, if you played the Demon Hunter at all, and you've looked at this character at all, you literally see the Demon Hunter in the way this character works. She's a Demon Hunter through and through. Then on top of that, she also has an entire specification, which is more of a melee character, but not a melee character like, like a barbarian, but a melee character like a assassin. That's what I would call it, an assassin. So she's like a demon hunter mixed together with an assassin. All right. And I'm talking about like the martial arts side of the assassin. And then on top of that, she also has an entire trap tree. And her trap tree is like things that she can put down, like poison traps and smoke grenades and dark shrouds and concealment. And this smacks just completely of the assassin's trap tree, as well as the assassin's shadow skill tree. So it's like they took the demon hunter and they took the assassin and they just like squished them together and like worked it all around until they finally had, like a ball of a character, and then they just threw it into the game and called it a rogue. But like when I look at this character, this is what I see. I see a character that is very much so 100% an assassin and a demon hunter just mixed together. And we're going to go over the capstones here, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So the first capstone we have is Momentum, which is melee skills grant a stack of momentum for 8 seconds if they are either hit a stunned, immobilized, frozen, hit an enemy from behind, right? While at 3 stacks of momentum, you gain 20% increased damage reduction, 30% increased energy regeneration, and 15% increased attack speed. This is your stealth ability, okay? Hitting an enemy from behind is literally your stealth ability. This is like if I want to be a sneaking assassin sitting in the shadows, popping out and stabbing people in the butthole. Which, stabbing people in the butthole is very effective, let's be honest. But it's not very honorable. Close quarters combat, this is more of like the martial arts sin. So, but it's also kind of a mixed here. So it says damaging a close enemy with ranged or melee grants a 5% attack speed bonus for 8 seconds. So this is literally your melee / ranged character. So this is a character that's set up for melee, but also set up for ranged. So you're doing both at the same time. Then we have the precision, which is strictly ranged. So this is your, if I'm not going to use any melee abilities, I'm just going to be a ranged character through and through. This is your 100% ranged character ability. And then we have Victimize, which is a lucky hit dealing direct damage to a vulnerable enemy, has up to 30% chance to cause an explosion, dealing 23% of the original damage to surrounding enemies. Does that sound like Corpse Explosion to you? Because it sounds like Corpse Explosion to me. And what is it? One thing that the Assassin had that was very, very popular in Diablo 2? The Death Sentry. And what did the Death Sentry do? Corpse Explosions. This honestly sounds to me like it's setting up the Trap-Assassin, or the Trap Assassin, for basically being sort of more of a Trap Assassin in some way. I'm not exactly sure how specifically you would set this up, but it definitely seems like a Trap Assassin, kind of like Corpse Explosion-esque kind of a thing. Then we have Exposure, which is dealing direct damage to an enemy affected by a trap skill, up to a 35% to reduce the active cooldowns of your trap skills. So this is the trap skill capstone. So as you can see here, we have Trapper. We have some interesting, like, Corpse Explosion. We have the ranged only. We have the melee only. And then we have the mixed melee/ranged. So the rogue is this like crazy amalgamation of the assassin and the demon hunter, kind of like mixed together in one creepy, crazy character. And I'm not sure if that's going to work out for them or not. And I don't know if it's going to be like a good thing or a bad thing. We might end up playing the character and end up hating it. She might be broken, overpowered for all I know, because I know for a fact that when you mix together too many classes with too many different specifications and they can do too many things, it's very hard to balance out a character that can do too many things. And I'll go ahead and call it right now. If they didn't get the balance right, the rogue is going to be one of the most broken characters in the game for some time. Until they manage to properly balance her out. And this is the problem with this, though, is that in my experience with MMOs and in my experience with other games, when you have a character like this that is capable of doing everything and is usually broken because they can do everything, and they end up getting balanced. When I say balanced, what I should really mean is, or what I should really say is hit in the head with a hammer until they can no longer speak properly, and unfortunately are locked away in an asylum for permanent brain damage. Because the devs don't seem to understand the difference between properly balancing one of these characters and just absolutely just raffle stomping them into the dirt until they literally can't even function as actual players. Because these specific characters, the ones that can do everything, are the ones that get absolutely annihilated in the freaking balance patches. And I don't just mean nerfed, no. Because when a character is nerfed, it's still viable, and you can still actually play it. But these characters, the ones that can do everything, are more often than not hit so hard with that nerf bat that they don't get back up again. And it might be 2 or 3 years before they ever get back up to their normal strength level, because the devs are more than happy to annihilate them from existence, but very slow to fix the problems that they created. And I've come across this far too many times in far too many games, and I have a feeling that the rogue is going to end up on this side of things. Because not only does she have ranged abilities, not only does she have melee abilities, not only is she a stealth character, not only does she have traps, but she can do all of it at the same time. Now, granted, she might not necessarily have, like, the most amazing ability for this, but on top of the traps, the melee, the ranged, and literally just, like, the craziness about her character, she also has a fair large amount of crowd control as well in things like let me see, find her crowd control in her subterfuge tree. She has the poison trap, she's got the concealment, which lets her vanish from sight. She has the dark shroud, which allows her to gain protective shadows, which reminds me very much of, like, Final Fantasy 11 with the Utsutsemi. I don't know, for those of you who played Final Fantasy 11 and you remember the Utsutsemi that the ninja could do, it sounds a lot like the ninja. So she surrounds herself with 5 protective shadows, and she gains 8% damage reduction for each shadow, and every time she takes direct damage, a shadow is consumed. Very similar to Utsutsemi. She also has a smoke grenade, which she can use to daze enemies for 4 seconds, which has a 15-second cooldown. And it just in general, like the amount of different like crowd control effects that she has, like the caltrops, the shadow step, the dash, and all of these various skills that she has that she can just use to like evade, avoid, and dodge, pretty much everything that comes her way. I mean, it's a very potent combo that's going to result in a very broken, overpowered character, and I can already tell you guys this. And I don't know whether they're just going to let it be, or whether it's going to end up getting nerfed shortly after launch, but I guess we'll find out. The Druid, on the other hand, if we're going to talk about classes, which is what we are doing. The Druid, on the other hand, is a very interesting beast. If you've played Diablo 2, you'll know what I'm talking about, because the Druid is a character that has always been kind of like a jack of all trades. The Druid was a bear, which was a big and tanky. The werewolf, which is fast and did lots of damage. He had the summoning tree. He had the elemental tree. He could be an ice or a physical summoner, or elemental character, or he could be a fire and a physical elemental character. Like, there was a lot that you could do on the Druid, but he kind of tended to be a little lackluster comparatively to other classes that did the same thing. And that was part of the issue. Like, when you compared his elemental damage to the elemental damage of a sorceress, combined with the fact that he didn't have teleport, things got a little weird. He wasn't bad. I don't want to say the Druid is bad at anything he does. He's just not, like, the best at anything he does, which is a little strange, right? And they've got this character all over the place. He's got bear, he's got wolf bear, he's got earth, he's got storm, he's got wolf storm, air storm bear, whatever. And like, you could probably combine it even further than that. Like, you could be probably a storm wolf or something, or you could be a bear earth, or you could maybe even be like a storm earth bear. Just burrs everywhere. All just burrs. And then to make things a little bit more complicated, they've got the spirit boons. So we were talking about these earlier. So there's basically 4 spirits as far as we know. There is the deer, the eagle, the wolf, and the snake. And according to what he said, is you're going to be able to choose 3 from your main, and 2 from your sub. So you're going to be able to grab 3 of these from whatever your main spirit is. So whether you choose the deer, the eagle, the wolf, or the snake. And then you can choose a sub with 2 additional baboons from that particular sub-spirit. So you could be a snake eagle, you could be an eagle snake, you could be a wolf deer, you could be a deer eagle, you could be a snake eagle, you could be an eagle snake. Like, there's a bunch of different combinations here, and who knows, they might add more spirit boons later. I mean, it certainly seems like something that they probably could do. I had a lot of fun looking at the sorceress, even though caster classes are not really like my main style. There was a lot of fun stuff going on here with this particular build. They've got a lot going on in the ice tree, and the fire tree. We got the blizzard skill, you've got the frost nova skill in here, you've got the ice armor, you've got the ice shards, the frozen orb. There's tons of different abilities in here for each tree. So, as you go along and you're looking at your particular abilities, whether you want to be an ice mage, whether you want to be a fire mage, a lightning mage, there's like a different way that you could build this like no matter what. Like if you wanted to play around with a Hydrosork, there's definitely a Hydrosork build. If you wanted to be a Incinerate or a Fireball Sork, there's definitely builds for that. Sorry, my throat is bothering me like crazy. I'm just trying to survive here. Is this a website I'm on? Yes, it's a website. Here, I'll link it in chat. You guys can do your own build calculations. There you go, and there you go. I actually went over a lot of this in my previous video, but we got so many people in here. Let's take a look at it together today as well. So we've got with the Sorceress, you've got your basic skills, which is like your builders. These are your resource builders, and it really doesn't matter which resource builder you pick. But if you've never looked at this tree before and you want to get ready for beta, maybe decide on a build that you want to play. Basically, how it works is you put your points into the actual ability. All right, you can beef up that ability 5 ranks. All right, then you have a upgrade, which is going to give you some type of upgrade to that main ability. Then you have a choice between 2 upgrades, and you can only get one of the 2. All right, so in this particular case with Frostbolt, the first upgrade gives us Frostbolt has a 15% chance to explode on chilled targets, hitting surrounding enemies. Chances increase to 100% against frozen targets. And then the second option is a choice between 2. So we've got the Glinting Frostbolt, which generates 4 mana while hitting chilled or frozen enemies. And then we have the Flickering Frostbolt, which makes frozen enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. So it's a choice between 2 upgrades, and you can only have one or the other. And a lot of the abilities are like this. They basically require you to choose. Some of them are a little bit more interesting than others. Like, for instance, let's see here. Some of these are a little bland. So, like, the Chain Lightning one has a 25% chance to spawn Crackling Energy. There was a couple of them in here that were really cool. Let me see if I can find them, because I do remember going over all these. One of them I remember specifically had a chance to spawn Meteor. It was Meteor. That's what it was. It was Meteor. Where are you, Meteor? Alright, so every time an enemy takes a burning damage, there is a 3% chance that a meteor will fall on them, right? So that's freaking insane. And then if you beef this up, which we need to just dump some points in so we can get there, so just give me a second. All right, so if you put points into it, notice it goes up. Well, it doesn't. He doesn't have it set up, so it actually increases the enchantment effect, which is pretty cool. And then here it says if the meteor hits 3 or more enemies, there is a 30% chance that an additional meteor falls on the same location. So, like, there are some really interesting things going on here in terms of like additional skill hits, things that can definitely make it work out better. With Meteor specifically, I could foresee a build going off of this 3% chance, and also the 30% chance that an additional meteor will fall if you hit 3 or more targets, because you know, as a fire sorceress, you're probably going to make sure that most monsters are burning, and if you hit them and they're burning, there's a 3% chance you get another meteor. So it's every time an enemy takes burning damage, there's a 3% chance that a meteor will fall on them. So basically, you just burn everything. Everything gets lit on fire. And if you have like 10 or 20 or even 30 monsters on the screen with a 3% chance per monster, as long as they're burning, there's a very good chance you're going to have meteors striking multiple enemies, right? And every single time a meteor strikes an enemy, if it hits 3 or more enemies, there's a 30% chance that an additional meteor will fall on the enemy. So there's like this whole build in here that basically just revolves around spamming meteors on everything, which sounds really freaking awesome. As long as everything's burning, meteors are falling. And as long as meteors are falling and they hit more than 3 targets, more meteors are falling. And you can, of course, probably cast the meteor spell yourself, which is going to make it even better. And then on top of that, we also have this one here, which Meteor Impact immobilizes enemies for 2 seconds, which means there's a very good chance you could end up with a group of monsters all stuck together, right? And you throw the meteor down, it immobilizes them, it triggers another meteor to fall, and before they can run away, they're hit by another meteor, immobilized again for another 2 seconds. So some very interesting ways that you can potentially build that stuff. And of course, there's tons of fire effects. I mean, we've got Firewall, we've got your Inferno, we've got your Hydra ability, and there seems to be tons of enchantment effects all over the place. So like when a burning enemy is killed, a Hydra head spawns from its corpse for 3 seconds. The enchantment effects are usually written at the bottom. Enchantment effect, killing an enemy has a 10% chance to conjure ice blades. Enchantment effect, upon getting a hit, you have a 5% chance to apply ice armor. Enchantment effect, lucky hit, critical strikes have up to a 30% chance to make your active conjuration skills unleash a frost nova. Oh yeah, by the way, the sorceress seems to have pets or summons or minions or whatever you want to call it. They're in here. Let me see if I can find them for you. Ice blades, cold. Conjure ice blades for 6 seconds that rapidly slash enemies for 31% and has a 20% chance to make them vulnerable for 2 seconds. Killing an enemy has a 10% chance to conjure more ice blades, enchantment effect. There was also one that had something to do with fire in here as well, and then we have the Conjuration Mastery, which allows you to summon more stuff there. The Lightning Spear, here it is. The Lightning Spear. Conjure a crackling spear of lightning that seeks out enemies for 6 seconds, dealing 15% damage per hit. Absorbing crackling energy has a 10% chance to conjure an additional lightning spear. I can't breathe. My nose is so stuffy. I can't breathe. Flame Shield automatically activates when you take fatal damage. It takes 120 seconds to recharge. Frozen Orb. Whenever you cast a non-basic skill, you have a 20% chance to launch a frozen orb at a nearby enemy. So, a non-basic skill, so these are basic skills. So anytime you use a non-basic skill, like say Ice Shards, for instance, there's a chance a frozen orb pops out. 20% chance a frozen orb pops out, by the way. So there's probably whole builds around that as well. The stream was on Twitter, Lucas Thompson, and there was no video, it was only audio. If you rewind, I have the whole stream on this live stream. Just, so you can do that, or you can, actually, I don't know if it's saved anywhere except for my page, now that I think about it, unless somebody else streamed it, you're probably not going to be able to watch it on its original source unless they have it, like, backed up on the Twitter servers or something. They also have Charged Bolt here. Whenever you're hit, there's a 40% chance to release 5 Charged Bolt. That's got to be a nod back to Diablo 2 with the, chance to cast Charged Bolts when struck. Lucky hit, direct damage has up to an 8% chance to spawn a rotating incinerating beam. That's kind of cool. When you kill an enemy, they explode in a fireball for 50% of its damage. Arc Clash. Whenever you are hit, there's a 20% chance the attacker is stunned for 1 second. Firebolt, you direct damage has up to a 100% chance to burn enemies for 23% over 8 seconds. So, for instance, this one right here with the burning, right? So you would, if you wanted to do the burn build, you would definitely grab this, and then you would probably grab this one, which increases the burning damage. So you'd probably want, you'd probably want that one. And that one, of course, would help the meteor, which is literally giving you a 3% chance that, whenever a monster is burning, you're getting a meteor falling on their head. So, like, and then you maybe even throw that in with Firewall, and then you'd grab Firewall and put, like, enemy stand in Firewall for at least 2 seconds, take 25% increased burning damage from all sources. That sounds like fun. And then 5% increased damage per active Firewall. Each enemy standing in the firewall increases your mana regeneration for 5%. The two good options there. Either 5% increased damage or 5% increased mana regeneration. And then you get like pyromancy stuff that floats around like this one, like Inner Flames. Your pyromancy skills deal 8% increased damage after you haven't taken damage for 3 seconds. Fireball and Meteor have 1.5% increased chance to critically strike per enemy hit. Devouring Flames, your pyromancy deals 1% increased direct damage for each source of burning on an enemy, up to 4%. And of course, you can beef that up to its maximum to get the highest value, which is going to give you 36% increased damage total for all the burning. So 3% increased direct damage for each source of burning on an enemy. So it ends up adding up. Like if you just like stack tons and tons of different burning effects on the monster, you can definitely get some very interesting things going. Necromancer is a fun one. Let's take a look at Necromancer again. What's up, Matrix 275? So, with the Necromancer, they seem to have kind of like a lot of focus here on things like the blood skills. Like there's a whole blood tree that involves like blood orbs, and until I actually play it, I'm not sure what the hell it's going to be. But as you can see here, it says after casting Blood Lance blank number of times, your next cast of Blood Lance is guaranteed to overpower and spawns a blood orb under the first enemy hit. And then we have things like Blood Mist, disperse into a bloody mist, becoming immune for 3 seconds. Your movement speed is reduced by 50%, and you periodically deal 1.75% damage to enemies, healing for 100% of the damage dealt. And then like there's more about the blood orbs all over the place. Like the more you look, the more you find like various things that have to do with blood orbs. There's also curses, of course. Here we go. Blood begets blood. While 50% below life, you receive 10% more healing from all sources. Coalesced blood. After being healthy for blank seconds, your next blood skill overpowers. Blood orbs also heal your minions for 15% of the amount. Tides of blood. Your blood skills deal 5% increased overpower damage. This bonus is doubled while you are healthy. And then we also have the Drain Vitality, which hitting enemies with blood skills has up to a 25% chance to fortify you for 1% base life. So, like, there's just a whole bloodness. Like, I mean, we got the Blood Wave, conjure a tidal wave of blood that deals 90% egg damage and knocks enemies back. Now, the weird thing is, I'm not really sure where this came from. Did the Necromancer ever have blood abilities before, except for the Blood Golem? Like, the only blood ability that I can think of the Necromancer ever had in Diablo 2 was the Blood Golem. In Diablo 3, I don't think I ever explored, like, the single, like, solo damage builds. Like, I was always into the summoner side of things. But I don't remember there being, like, a bunch of blood stuff in Diablo 3 either. I don't know. We also have a whole bone side, so there's, like, the Bone Storm, and then we've got, like, the Bone Prison, and we've got the Bone Spear, and all of which are very nice. So there's like a whole bony bone side. We got Bone Splinters, which is probably pretty similar to Teeth in a way. And then of course there's also like an entire tree here dedicated to beefing up your bone skills. So they got Serration, Compound Fracture, rapid ossification, and then they've got the evulsion, which is extra bone damage. And then they got Bone Spear as well, which is interesting. Bone Spear kind of reminds me of a skill that was on Diablo 3, though, the way they have it set up, where basically it's like essence. It basically costs essence, and it does more damage per point of essence that you spend. So you have like a massive amount of essence that you can just like shove into the ability, and if you can shove in all the essence that you have, it'll deal a huge amount of damage, but as soon as you cast it, all of your essence is gone. So you're going to have a way to rebuild all your essence after you use it. So it sounds like a big spike. They changed it into like a very big spike damage ability. We also have the corpse explosion ability is in here from Diablo 2. So detonate a corpse, dealing 75% damage to surrounding enemies. Death and blood go hand in hand. And then, of course, we have a whole side of the tree which is like dedicated to summoning. So that's a whole thing. So if you take a look at the tree, you'll find that we do have like specific abilities that seem to be set up to enhance mainly just the army. We do have curses. So there is a Decrepify curse. There is an Iron Maiden. And we do have, where is it? I'm trying to find the ones for the actual summons. Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig can. Got the song stuck in my head. Spider Pig is Spider Pig. There we go. We got Skeleton Warrior Mastery. Increases the damage and life of your Skeleton Warrior. Then we also have, they're kind of like hidden all over the tree, by the way. Skeleton Mage Mastery increases the damage and life of your Skeleton Mages. And then there should be another one for, as amplified damage, by the way. Should have another one for the other stuff. This is the opposite. This is standalone. So you get less damage, or sorry, more damage and damage reduction. Increases damage reduction by 6%, reduced by 2% for each active minion. Yeah, so this is the one where you're supposed to be by yourself. This is the standalone. So if you're not gonna do the skeletons and you're not gonna do the mages and whatnot, sacrificing both skeleton warriors and skeleton mages increases their sacrifice bonuses by 20%. This is the Golem Mastery up here. So we've got the three different masteries. You've got Golem Mastery, Skeleton Mage Mastery, and then you've got the Skeleton Warrior Mastery. Army of the Dead here. Call forth the deep buried dead. Volatile undead emerge over the next 7 seconds. This is reminiscent of Diablo 3. I believe Diablo 3 had an Army of the Dead ability. It was really kind of like an ability that you used, and it summoned forth like an army, but it really wasn't like an army so much as it was just like an ability that damaged monsters. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. Bonded, in essence, your minions gain 15% of your resistances. Hellbent Commander did 10% increased damage while you are close to them. Death's Defense, your minions can't lose more than 50% of their maximum life from a single damage instance. So this is an interesting one that will prevent the monsters from being able to one-shot your army, which is pretty darn cool. So basically this, like say a monster comes in and hits your golem for like 100% of his health, and it would be a one-shot, right? Well, basically, this would prevent the golem from taking over than 50% of his health and damage, and so he would not die from a one-shot ability. He could still get technically two-shot, because he could take 50% and then 50% again, but he wouldn't be able to take 100% and then die immediately in one hit. So that's a pretty interesting thing that could potentially prevent your golem from dying at an inopportune moment. We also have the Inspiring Command. After you've been healthy for at least 4 seconds, you and your minions gain 4% increased attack speed. So this is like, they kind of got like two different ones here. Like, this one seems like it would be more for the like laid back commander, the one that kind of stands back and like does his own thing. And this one seems like it would be more for the one that is going to actually be in there with his army. So you've got two choices here. You've got the one that's gonna, you're gonna fight side by side with them, and then you've got the one where you're gonna hang back and you're not gonna really be in there with them at the same time. And Cody just got shoved in here because he was being bad. Cody, what were you doing out there? Being terrible. That's what you were doing, wasn't it? That's all you know how to do is to be terrible. And then you come in here and then what? What? Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty much it for the Necro. He definitely has a lot of fun ways that he could be built. There's kind of like a Thorns build in here too. We got like spiked armor, and then there's like an ability in here where like your minions will gain whatever value of thorns you have. Where was that one at? I can't remember where that was. Just trying to find it here. I know it's in here somewhere. I just can't remember where. It's going to take me a little while to get used to these skill trees. I rather do, I think, prefer the skill trees from Diablo 2, but I guess I can kind of see why they had to go this route. Because, well, then... Well, I can't find it in here. Close enemies take 2% more damage from you and deal 3% less damage to you. Yeah, well, I can't find it, but that's okay. Let's take a look at one of the other classes. I actually kind of wanted to go over the rogue with you guys a little bit better. Or we haven't really gone over the druid in detail. Let's go over the druid. I need some water here. I'm so thirsty. My thirst is legendary. All right, so the druid has some pretty specific abilities. Like when you look at him, lightning, like it says in parentheses, like right here, lightning. We've got physical, which is the wind blade. We've got earth, which is also physical. And then we've got the maul and the claw, which the claw is definitely the werewolf and the maw is definitely the bear. So you got 5 clear choices as soon as you start. Do you want to be a werewolf? Do you want to be a lightning? Do you want to be a wind? Do you want to be a earth? Or do you want to be a bear? And they make you choose right off the bat. And then it goes straight into the spirit abilities, which is things like you got tornado, which is a pretty classic Diablo 2 skill, and then you've got landslide, which I guess could be sort of similar to, I don't know, like the boulder or something along those lines. They do have cyclone armor in here, but it's not quite the same cyclone armor that we had from Diablo 2. So if for those of you who are Druid fans and you really like cyclone armor, it is in here. Passive powerful winds surround you, granting you a 20% non-physical damage reduction. Active, the winds rapidly expand, knocking back enemies and dealing 15.75% damage. So it's not quite as OP as it was in Diablo 2, which is pretty damn OP in Diablo 2, I'm not going to lie. If you're a Hurricane Druid, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because Cyclone Armor basically protects you against all elemental damage, which is pretty insane. We also have the Earthen Bulwark, a lot of earth skills, and then we've got like the Roar here, which is very similar to the Shockwave. So this one is a Werebear skill, and it has a Mighty Roar, which reduces the damage dealt by nearby enemies for 50%. And then it gives you like a little buff, and then on top of that, it can either heal you or slow down enemies. So it's very similar to Shockwave in a lot of regards. And then the Werewolf has the Blood Howl, which helps him restore life and things like that, helps him attack faster. And then we go over to the companion tree. So the companions, they do have the ravens, they do have the wolves, and they also have the vine creeper. So just like in Diablo 2, we've got the poison creeper, we've got the wolves, and we've got the ravens. And you can beef up the wolves in specific ways to help you out with stuff. You can also beef up the ravens to help you out with specific things as well. Then we have the Hurricane as well, which is pretty cool, and that obviously is going to work pretty similar to the way that the one does in Diablo 2, which really makes the Druid into a close range fighter with the Hurricane. A lot of people, like when they play Druid, they figure out pretty quickly that the Druid has a lot of close range attacks and things like that. And then Boulder, which is the physical damage ability, is very similar to Molten Boulder, of course, except it doesn't have the fire effect on it. It seems like the fire effects are just completely missing from the Druid, by the way. They went with Earthen instead of fire, which... and we've got a lot of different abilities in here, like they got the Rabies, they've got the Trample ability, which is the Werebear ability. Again, kind of like, just making the Werebear into what the Werebear does. Then we got like Grizzly Rage and some of these other abilities. I mean, quite honestly, it's all pretty cool. Like, if you guys want to check out this calculator, it is up here. They also have the other things in here, like they've got the legendary aspects. So if you want to go over and take a look at each one of the legendary aspects, a lot of these are generic legendary aspects, and they do very specific things for like everybody. And then some of them are actually like class based. So like when you look at some of them, like this one is specifically affects Pulverize. So you wouldn't be able to get this particular one on another character affecting Pulverize, obviously, because it's a Druid specific one. I mean, overall, it's pretty cool to sit here and theorize with this stuff. Now, this up here is new. Last time I was here, I actually didn't have any of this stuff on this list. And this seems to be the Paragon boards from what I can tell. So there's a Thunderstruck Paragon board, an Earthen Cruelty Paragon board, a Cornered Lust for Carnage. This is the start, apparently, of the Paragon board before you get into any of the specific ones. We have the Heightened Malice, Polymorphic, and the Roots of Nature, as well as the Spiritual Guidance. And each one of these has like a capstone ability. I think it's this one right here. After shapeshifting, your spirit costs are reduced by... this one right here seems to be... Heightened Malice. Where is it? There it is. While there are blank more poisoned enemies, so that one seems to be more specifically to rabies. And then... This one is Lust for Carnage. Critical strikes with werewolf. Skills restore spirit. Cornered. While in werebear form, you deal X damage percent up to for every blank difference percent courage life. Of course, this is not finished. Earthen Cruelty. Your earth skills deal blank percent increased damage to targets affected by movement impairing effects. And we can kind of look at some of the other ones too. Let's take a look at the Barbarian. So this one is Hemorrhage. Enemies that have been affected by your bleeding for more blank seconds, increased bleeding damage from you. Blood Rage. Killing a bleeding target has a blank percent chance to grant berserking for a certain number of seconds. Carnage. While berserking, critical strikes increase your attack speed up to blank number of seconds. Decimator. Lucky Hit. Two-handed slashing weapons attacks have up to a blank percent chance to make enemies vulnerable for a certain number of seconds. Bone Breaker. Overpowers with your two-handed bludgeoning weapon. Stun enemies for blank number of seconds and grant you a number of your maximum life. Has Fortify. Precision Striker. Damaging enemies with one-handed weapons increases your damage by blank for seconds. This can only happen once per skill cast or twice per second, but while channeling Whirlwind. And then Warbringer. For every blank fury you spend, gain a maximum life as Fortify. Weapons Expert. Swapping weapons reduces your active non-ultimate skill cooldowns by blank number of seconds. Interesting. Necromancer. Cult Leader. You and your minions deal increased damage for each minion type you have active. This only applies to the minion types Skeletal Warrior, Skeletal Mage, and Golem. Towering Monstrosity. Your Golem increased maximum life and deals increased damage. Cannibalize. Consuming a corpse grants you percent increased damage up to blank number of seconds. Flesh Field. With at least blank corpses nearby, you take less damage. Just corpse all over the place, huh? Makes you feel like a king. Bone Graft. Hitting enemies with bone skills increases your damage by a blank percentage, and your maximum essence for a number of seconds stacks up to blank increased damage and maximum essence. Empowering Blood. Blood orbs grant increased damage up to blank percentage seconds. Bloodletter. Blood skills deal increased damage but cost additional percent of the skill's essence cost or cooldown as a percent of your maximum life. And then finally, Wither. You and your minions deal increased damage to targets affected by shadow damage over time. So that's like that's a shadow / summonmancer right there. The Rogue. Let's take a look at her Paragon board doojanks up here. She has Overflowing. Your imbues apply to additional attack, to blank additional attack. Imbuements are down here, by the way. They're basically things like Poison Imbuement, Shadow Imbuement, Cold Imbuement, which can do different things depending on how you have them set up. We also have the Tricks of the Trade. Your range skills grant your next melee skill increased damage. Your melee skills grant your next range skill increased damage. So this is like for the range / melee character. Control Master, you deal percent increased damage for each nearby target that is crowd controlled up to blank percent. That's definitely a build right there, crowd control build. Deadly Ambush, you deal percent increased critical strike damage to targets affected by your trap skills. That's a trap skill capstone. Inner Eye, when Inner Sight's gauge becomes full, you gain +% dodge chance for a certain number of seconds. Ultimatum, your ultimate skill deals increased damage and grants you increased damage for a number of seconds when cast. Expose, when you deal damage to a vulnerable enemy, they take percent increased damage from you for seconds up to blank. And then finally, completionist. Skills that consume number combo points deal increased damage. The only thing we haven't taken a look at is the sorcerer. Let's take a look at the sorcerer. Can you reset your character points? Yeah, you can reset your character points. It just costs money. And they charge you more depending on what level you are. So the higher level you are, the more money it costs to reset your points. And they've basically stated that when you get to like a max level character, it's a pretty hefty cost. Like they've made it pretty hefty when you get into the high levels. Apparently, like early on, it's not really that big of a deal. Like they said, you could probably reset pretty much anytime you wanted, but the later times they kind of specifically said that it would be really costly the higher level you get to reset your character. Searing Heat. Direct damage from pyromancy skills burn the target for an additional % of its base damage over blank seconds, so that's definitely a fire one. Bitter Frost. Increased damage to chilled and frozen targets, so definitely an ice one. Surging Force. Critical strikes from shock skills grant you increased critical strike damage for 5 seconds, definitely a shock skill. MOE, Master of the Elements. Core skills have up to a blank % chance to make your next mastery skill deal increased damage. So that's kind of a generic one. Burning Instinct, increased damage while blank number of monsters or more are burning nearby. Harsh Winter, enemies become chilled after they unfreeze from your freeze effects. You take less damage from chilled targets. Crackling Power. Dealing damage with crackling energy has a blank % chance to not consume a charge. Shaper of Wills. After spending mana, you gain a % of your maximum life as a barrier for a certain number of seconds. Well, I think that's pretty much everything. I mean, we've gone over tons and tons and tons of stuff here. And I'll be looking forward to the beta. I hope you guys join me for the beta. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can join me for all the beta fun. Any new information I get, I'm probably going to post on here. Like, any new information. If you want to go back and take a look at the live stream, maybe you didn't catch it, it is in the stream. I'll try and put some chapters up so that you guys don't have to like sift through a 2.5 hour live stream for this stuff. How am I playing the beta early? I'm not playing the beta. The beta isn't until, what, the 17th? Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals tuning in for my videos, even when we're just BSing about Diablo 4 and watching a Q&A. And as always, keep watching.